Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Bfight 210. This is a 210mm 5-inch racing drone. Comes already pre-built here. It comes with several different varieties. Plug and play is the one that I've got here. It doesn't come with a receiver, and they have varieties with receivers. Free Sky, I think, comes with an XM Plus receiver. Fly Sky, I think that one comes with the FSA8S receiver, and then you have also a Spectrum DSM2 option as well. A lot of really good components in this one, and the frame looks pretty strong and lightweight. We'll first off start with the motors, and some strange branded name here, Flubfly. I don't know how to pronounce that. Weird name, but they're pretty basic motors here. 2205, 2300 kV. Not sure what the power is going to be like on these. They do feel pretty smooth. The bearings seem pretty good in all of these, so at least that's pretty good. They're not soft mounted, and all the screws are in pretty tight. The frame itself, the arms, you can see here that the outer bell of the motors are a little bit exposed. You can see right there. If you hit at the right angle, you could potentially damage a bell. The very tip here is protruding out the corners, so you do have a little protection there. So we'll have to see how well these hold up to crashes. Going inside the flight stack here, we got a 4-in-1 BLE S 30 amp ESC. We got a Omnibus F3 Pro flight controller, and then we got a video transmitter that's on top of the stack here. That's 25 and 200 milliwatt switchable, and I believe we can also change the channels via the OSD. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll show that a little bit later. The camera here is a Foxeer HS1177 and has a 2.1mm lens, so very wide angle. It does come with the OSD joystick board if you want to change the settings. We'll take a look at those a little bit later as well. The arms are very substantial. We got a 4mm arm here. They are a little bit skinny because you have the motor wires going directly to the 4-in-1 ESC, so you got some nice little braiding here, but it would have been nice if they would have put some heat shrink around these edges, because eventually these little edges here will start to fray, and then the whole thing will start to come apart, so having some heat shrink would be a good idea. As I mentioned, there's 4 separate arms here, so if you break one you can replace them when replacement arms do come out. They're attached with basically just 2 screws that go through these the bottom plate here and the secondary plate, and you got the one that goes to the basically the standoffs that go to the top plate, and then the one on the inside here goes to your flight controller stack. So it's fairly stiff. I mean, I tried twisting this and it does feel stiff, but obviously in a crash we'll have to see how that holds up. I think eventually it'll loosen up in one of the holes, and then you'll get some play in the arm. But for the price, I can't really complain too much. It's $150 for the whole thing, all built, and there's no building to do and almost no configuring to do, because the flight controller comes with the latest Bfight 3.1.7 already installed on there, and we'll have a little section where I go over the config there, but I looked at it and there's almost nothing that needed changing, so you can almost fly this out of the box without really much effort. So for the price, you can't really complain. I think this will hold up pretty well in crashes, but obviously in a hard crash this design will still suffer damage. Okay, so I'm going to take the top off here. We'll take a closer look at the video transmitter. Now the video transmitter comes with this, it's not really a micro FL connector. I don't know the exact name of this, but it's not an SMA connector. It just plugs in here, and it's you can rotate the connector as so, and very long antenna. The active part's way out here, so you could stick it far away from the carbon frame, and actually it helps with reception. So especially this is needed because you have a circular polarized antenna, so this is actually pretty useful. I'm probably going to need to put a zip tie on the top plate to secure this so it doesn't flop around and get into the props, because then it'll just get cut up. So as I mentioned, it's a 25 200 milliwatt power switchable video transmitter, and it's 48 channels. And I believe there's a way to switch the channels via the OSD. We'll actually go into the FPV feed and we'll take a look at that. You can also change the buttons. You can also change the channel via this button here as well. Now, as I mentioned before, this one is the plug and play version, and there's no receiver on here. As you can see, there's not a lot of space to put a receiver. I think the ready to fly or the binding flies come with the receiver in between the flight controller and the video transmitter, and that space there. I'm actually going to use this plug back here, which is actually a UART1 on the flight controller, and I'm going to plug in my FlySky receiver there. So the kit comes with a diagram of the flight controller, and you can see that is labeled UART1. There's a 4-pin micro JST connector, and so I just made a little connector here from my FlySky FS8S, and I just soldered on the same connector that I needed here for that port, and I'm just going to plug it into the back and probably mount it somewhere back here. Not exactly sure, I'll have to probably zip tie it somehow to keep it out of the props, and then use another zip tie to secure this antenna up and prop it up so it doesn't get into the props. Now looking back here at the XD60 connector, it's just soldered on to these pads here on the 4-in-1 ESC. Obviously going to crash if your battery gets ejected. This is going to get ripped off, so it probably would be a good idea to zip tie this to something. I don't see anything here that we could zip tie it to, so I'm probably just going to zip tie it to the arm over here so that you get a little strain relief. You don't want the battery ejecting and pulling the pads off, and then basically your 4-in-1 ESC is toast and you're going to have to get a new one. So yeah, I would recommend zip tying it to the arm over here, and then you can have the battery on the bottom, like something like that. Now, it does come with some battery straps, but they're not that great. I'm probably going to use a different battery strap, and there's a little bit of space here under the 4-in-1 ESC that you might be able to slide that strap through, but you can see that the motor wires are also in there as well. Actually, yeah, there's space there, but because of the way the motors are soldered on, I don't think there's a way to get a strap on there, so you're probably going to have to wrap your battery strap all the way around the top plate as well, so I'll have to figure that out. So you do get some 2 sets of these nice gem fan props. These are the 5152s. They kind of look like the Dal Cyclones, so I'll be putting these on here and trying them out. Okay, so I've been trying to figure out how to use this S-Bus connection on the video transmitter, and was searching around because there's no documentation that came with this drone. If you search for VT5806, you'll find that there's clones of this type of, or lots of different variations of this type of video transmitter out there, and you can download the documentation for it. Basically, you got the video signal, which is the yellow right here. Basically, the 6 pins correspond to the labels here. So the yellow is video, the white is S-Bus, and then you got ground and power. And the yellow goes to the OSD here where it should normally go. That's fine. And then you got the other side of the OSD goes to the camera. The white cable there, and it's very hard to see. So you can see it's soldered right there on the board, and that's actually on UART1. And on the pinout diagram that came with the quad, you can see here that it says here RX and VTX, and that white cable is actually soldered onto this pin. This is the S-Bus pin on UART1. So I was thinking maybe it was doing like the IRC tramp, or maybe the TBS Smart Audio for changing the channel via the Betaflight OSD, but that was a no-go. No, that did not work at all, or at least I wasn't able to figure it out. And I found some documentation on that video transmitter, and it says that you can change channels, the frequency on the video transmitter via channel 6 on the receiver. So I'm thinking that you have to actually solder your receiver to that connection there, along with where the white connection is. So it's very confusing. Bottom line is I wasn't able to get it to work, so unless someone out there knows how to get this to work, I'm thinking it's probably just a feature that is half-baked and not working. And basically what you want to do is you want to use the button here to change your frequency and bands. There's a set of lights here, blue, I think, and red, 3 of them. And if you search for the manual for, I think it's the Panda RC video transmitter, it's basically the same one as this. You'll get the chart for what the lights mean in terms of finding your channel, so you can use that to tune to the channel that you want. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to connect up my receiver to UART3 in the back here, and then I will secure my antennas, put my props on, and battery strap, and I'll show you what it looks like before I go fly it. Okay, so I got it back together, and this is how I have my receiver set up. You might have yours done differently. I dismounted my FlySky receiver on the back part here. There's some holes for zip ties here in the back, so I got one holding the receiver onto the top plate, and then I got two zip ties here that are securing the receiver antenna here, and then this is the video transmitter antenna here, and I just have those on each side right there like that, so it should keep things out of the props. And then I have a little cable here for my receiver that plugs into UART3 in the back of the flight controller there. And I still have room here on top. I could put a GoPro mount on there or run Cam 3 or something like that if I wanted to get some HD video, but I'm not going to do that for the maiden. Just need to put a battery strap on here, and probably going to put some foam or some rubber sticky stuff here to hold the battery on the bottom here. But that's about it, and I'm going to get a weight measurement. So this is everything without the battery. Coming in at just a little over 250 grams, so very lightweight. Obviously you got to stick the props on here, so probably add another 10-15 grams for that, so still very, very light. And even with 2205 motors, I think it should be pretty fast. I'm going to run a little bit of clip here of the Bfight setup and what I changed in here, and then we'll go ahead and fly it after that. Okay, so I hooked up the receiver on UART1, and there was almost nothing I needed to change here. It already came with Bfight 3.1.7, and it says an Omnibus F3 flight controller. And I switched the UART for the Stereo RX from UART3 to UART1, and under configuration I switched it from under receiver here. I switched it from S-Bus to I-Bus because I'm using a FlySky I-Bus receiver, and I didn't change anything else here. I left all that alone. Didn't change anything under failsafe or PID tuning. These are just default PIDs for Bfight 3.1.7. I'm going to increase the super rate on the rule to 0.75. And under receiver, change the stick min and max. You need to change yours to whatever your radio is set to. And just check your direction of all your channels, make sure that they're working in the correct direction. And there are no modes set up here, but I'm going to set up switch arming on aux1, and I'll turn on air mode and anti-gravity. And I believe that's pretty much it. Let me see, there might be something on OSD. Yeah, I'm going to have to change stuff on the OSD here. I usually only like main battery voltage and fly time. So I'll turn all of these off. I think it's NTSC, I'll check here. We move our battery down here and our fly time over here. Save, and I believe that is it. We're good to go. this hobby and wants to, get into the 5-inch racing drones shouldn't consider this as their first racing drone, because it really is that easy to set up, very low cost. Obviously, I can't speak to the durability because I didn't crash it. And obviously, if you're a professional pilot, this is not going to be for you. You're going to be spending the thousands of dollars on high-end equipment. This is pretty good for entry-level stuff here, and we're talking $150, so definitely recommend it.